There's been a lot of talk since the Oscars about visual effects. Lots of people, myself included, have turned our avatars green and all that. Now I should warn you, the views that I expressed in this may well piss a lot of people off. A lot of you watching this, by the time you get to the end of it, if you don't switch it off in the meantime, may be horrified at what I'm about to say. Because I've been taking a close eye on this whole situation for a long time. Those of you that have watched these main casts for a long, long time, I've been banging on about this for 5 years, right? And nobody listened. I wasn't the only person. I was told I was talking absolute crap. But, as with anything in life, people usually don't believe something until they experience it. And what happened at the Oscars was absolutely fucking terrible. Now, Rhythm Hughes did a fantastic job. Without them, there is no fucking film. Now, my little message, should Mr. Anley ever see this video, which is debatable, that's doubtful, isn't it? But my message is this: you truly are an ignorant fuckwit. Because while writers and directors come up with these wonderful universes in the head, that's as much use as a chocolate tea cosy without people to turn it into reality. And I'm quite aware that writers and directors love to think that they are the only people who are capable of making their vision, and it's all down to them. But you can do a look at something like Star Wars. Vast areas of that were created by the creators working on it. Where would it be, without some of the big names? So, to take credit and not even mention by name a company that's going under due to the double dealings of the effects industry is bad. Now, while it's beyond the scope of this to go into the details of why the whole situation, the bidding process, etc., is fucked up, which I would like to do at some point because there's so much in it and it's such a long and involved thing, I would urge you all to read up on it. Before you start turning avatars green, learn what the hell you're actually agreeing to. Okay? Now, here's my position. Now, yes, effects artists get a raw deal. But what concerns me is the following. And I've got my browser open here, and I'm going to pull a few quotes to justify what I'm about to say. This has been hijacked, or starting to be hijacked for quite some time, by LA, right? By the artists and studios in LA, FX studios. Now, I do not give a flying fuck about LA. You cannot put the genie back in the bottle. You can't insist that we want to take all the work off everybody else and have it all in LA. It doesn't work like that. Tough, right? Let me illustrate a few quotes from some very important people who should know better. Now, Mr. Phil Tippett, who you all know Phil Tippett, right, comes out with Hollywood, our last great homegrown export is going the way of the dinosaur. And then he goes on taking work to subsidised territories, thus forsaking all of us in California who reinvented what we call visual effects. Yeah, but what about the rest of the fucking world that did some rather revolutionary stuff as well? You know, it makes me mad when I see that. Yes, he's a very talented dude, I'm not taking it away from Phil Tippett, but yeah, you know what I mean? It's cool, and then the whole of visual effects is all down to LA. Now, there is a nice bit on an interview on IO9. And it goes on, let's see if I find it, Scott Ross. Visual effects companies are currently effectively funding feature films while setting a project margin. And in the end he says, at Sunday's Pros, many in the VFX community were calling for an end to foreign film subsidies and profit sharing. You know, now, it then goes on, the same as this VFX soldier, who I call VFX fuckwit, because he really does have his own little agenda going on if you read carefully. And it's all down to, please give us all the work in LA. Now, yeah, it's more complicated. Not everybody's thinking like that, but you know what I mean. Come on. There's another one here, nice one. Where it's going on and on. Who said this now? I'm just going to find who said it. Bill Westenhofer. And it's going on the same thing. And you've got this open letter from VFX Soldier. Hollywood is not the visual effects industry. It does not begin and stop with LA. Now, we might think that if you live in LA, but trust me, there's a lot of tiny firms around the world, and some of them are doing some pretty damn good fucking work. What I take exception to is when this is being hijacked for people by their own agenda. I don't have an agenda. If you want to call my agenda, this is about everybody. And to be quite honest, nobody's in the right. Let me explain that. I'm trying to watch the time here because it's going to cut off in 10 minutes. Now, the studios, when Mr. Angley says, I'd like to play less, I suppose what he's sort of trying to get at is it's expensive, right? Now, if you have, like, I'm a 3D lead, working on a film for stream scene, whatever it is. Now, when you look at the budgets, it's easier to run a very small, highly optimized unit than it is a big firm, whether it's DNEG, ILM, Rhythm Hughes, wherever, right? Because the moment you get more than, I don't know, 40 people, you need more managers. And then managers for the managers and more department heads and blah, blah, blah. And you end up with a shed load of people. Now, if you've ever tried to see 20 people sitting at a party and you want to order up for pizza, right? And everybody's got to agree on one pizza, it doesn't happen, does it? That's the same thing that happens in the effects house a lot of the time. And you'll always have the interpersonal dynamics where this guy doesn't get on with this guy, and you know. So larger companies may not be the best way to do things. Now, if it went the way the film companies want, and you would reach down to, I don't know, where ILM, Pixar, DNEG, you know, that sort of list, maybe 4 or 5 companies. The trouble is, everything's going to start to look the same. Do we really want that? Does film want that? I don't know. As an artist, I would like this to see a film and have something different. But, yes, while I support VFX artists, and while I realise what I'm saying here is going to piss a lot of people off, there are faults on all sides. The studios need to start realising where their bread is buttered. If you are currently producing the fashion for high quality visual effects with a lot of shots, hundreds of shots, then do not be surprised when people start saying, we don't want to work so fucking hard that we're going to die of exhaustion. Is it right that companies go under when they win an Oscar? No. Is it right that an artist can come up with a revolutionary way of doing an asset or dealing with something that saves hundreds of thousands of dollars, and yet at the end of the project it's, well, see ya, fuck off, and that's it, you're disposable? Artists are not technicians. Now, I've said many times that artists are at a studio, whether it's a game studio or an effects studio, you're closer to working at McDonald's than you are to Michelangelo. Or even Michelangelo had his art director, you know, the Pope. So we're in a similar sort of situation, but now we have to stamp it out faster. But that doesn't make us not artists. And maybe I've made that clear over the years, but yeah, we're artists, and if we do not put this into it, then it comes out with no soul. So, you know, what are we going to do? I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. The whole movement will continue to fragment. Inside of a month, only a handful of people will still have a green avatar. You'll end up, which has already happened, the practical effects guys are currently mourning on because they think that they have been excluded. Well, that's never been the intention as far as I'm concerned. I include that in with the 3D side because visual effects covers 3D and practical, in my mind, right? But yes, at the moment, the visual effects artists on the 3D side and the CGI side, the digital side, including compositors and match movers and everybody else, they're getting a raw deal. And while a lot of people know the name of Phil Tippett, right? How many people know the name of Bay Ray outside the 3D industry? You know, how many people know who textured Yoda? You know, these are important things, important assets in the history of film, right? And the guy on the street doesn't know. Well, yes, so when I see, whether it's the studios or the want of a better word, lackeys, so I've never been afraid of pissing people off, let's face it, Now, there's about 5 guys that hand out all the work, right? Now, when they do the assumptions for a film, right? And what's like DMP, what's 3D, what's just a straight comp shot, blah, 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 what's practical. There's always pressure on to keep costs down. Now, depending on whether you're doing fucking The Avengers or whether you're doing a tiny little film nobody's ever heard of, the pressure does seem to vary a bit. If you've got a film that's expected to make over $1 billion, right, you're pretty much in the clear. You can push a little bit harder than you can if it's low budget. But sometimes directors aren't even involved in that process. Sometimes it's just the studios, art directors, VFX supervisors, people like that are involved. So that sort of gets the directors off the hook sometimes. It's not a straightforward process. Now, I do see a lot of this at the moment, how they're trying to find a demon, trying to find somebody to blame. And while, the film companies can have a large proportion of the blame, bottom line is the film companies have always only been about the money. They will always chase the popularity, right? Whatever's a big thing. It's like, if you look at the styles back, when the Lord of the Rings films came out, right? They came out not that long, Fellowship of the Ring before Episode 1 Star Wars. And I think it was around the similar time. Somebody corrected me if I'm wrong. But basically had guys like Dylan Cole doing all these fantastic mattes and stuff, and Dylan Cole has a certain look, and it's fantastic, and I'm a big fan of his work. And then he also did work on Episode 1 Star Wars. And there was a sort of a look between the two films, vastly different subject matters. Now, if you imagine that the same hot favourite guys would be working on everything and just moving around companies from project to project, because there's no lifelong jobs anymore, let's face it, no matter what field you're in. But, unless you own a bank. But, I don't want this to become an average. Neither do I think that the industry should play at the lowest common denominator. Now, I believe, as I've said before and I touched on it, that the way forward is small, highly optimised teams. Guys who know what the fuck they're doing inside out, right? You'd be amazed how much you can get done with 10 or 20 guys, right? In a full department. Now, when I see times of some of the shots come out of some of the larger facilities, it makes me laugh, right? It literally makes me laugh, because I've seen times quoted for assets in films, and I'm thinking, I'm sorry, but what the fuck are you doing? Spending all day on Facebook? And I know they're not, right? What is it? Revisions? And the art director's arguing with the VFX supervisor, who's arguing with the producer, and the director doesn't get on with the other guy over there in the studio, and he's got his own stuff going on, and then you've got all the other artists, So yeah, it's not straightforward. It's not me getting the artists right, it's me getting the process. The process itself is fucked up. Which is why it's far easier to do a small film than a big one. Because you've got less people to piss off. Now, artists must also be given the freedom to move. I'm less of a fan of companies that just say, there's everything you need, there's a nice little box, you work within that box and do exactly this. Then saying to somebody, okay, this is what the shot is, it's got this in, it needs to look like that, do your best. Most artists will surprise you, because we're all perfectionists, right? It's like, I'll put a video probably around the same time as this, with Mr. Yanko, he just finished his last day at screening. And he was on the video with Glenn Southern and me having a chat in the pub. Now, Yanko came with a great quote of why his tracks were perfect. He says, because Yanko has to convince Yanko first. And we're all like that, right? If you're doing, you're doing a digital double, right? You're not going to hand that off until you're satisfied with it. Yeah, you sometimes get under pressure, being in a group of yourself at times, and you have to do it in a short time, and art is never, and it's never released, it escapes, right? Because if it was up to us, we'd still be dicking around with it in 2 months' time. But, yes, you have got a priority of how important an asset is to a movie, and it also has to fit into the pipeline and the scheduling. Scheduling's a big thing, right? If you have a crap schedule, it'll cost you more money to make the film, regardless of how good the effects are. which is why you can have crap effects, you know, on an otherwise good film, but they've cost a fortune to do, and people go, what the fuck? It's a scheduling thing. You know, if production are doing their job properly and doing it well, the matchmaker will have things ready for the 3D guys, which will have ready for the animators, the textures, and then it'll go every comment. It should be a nice, like, sine wave flowing around. It shouldn't be like somebody having a heart attack on a heart monitor, you know, and suddenly it goes flat while everybody's waiting for one fucking guy to come in and finish his asset. That's not how it should be working, right? So, yes, the big studios, they're always going to be safe, right? Two of the biggest ones are owned by Disney, let's face it, right? They're owned by film companies. Effectively now, they are the film company in many ways. So they're sort of discounted from this equation, from this discussion, in my view. But will it get to the point where the film companies start buying up the effects studios, bringing them in-house? That way they can fix the price of the wages. We spend longer to learn to do what we do than surgeons do. We don't get paid anywhere near that. The average guy working at McDonald's has more legal rights than any visual effects artist does. I can spew out these facts from now to Christmas. It won't be a blame bit of difference. Because I truly believe that for this industry to make a difference, we've got to stop fucking arguing with each other. But it's like anything else. You're never going to have 10 guys in a room that all agree with the same thing. They all want different things out of this. Would a union be great? Yeah, of course it would. Will it probably happen? Doubtful. If it does, it's going to be loaded in dice one way or another. Is it going to be loaded to studios, loaded to LA, loaded to the actual effects companies themselves, and still not actually paying the artists right? There's very few places where you would say that it's absolutely impartial. This is the one argument where none of us are impartial. We all have a view. As I always say, opinions are like arseholes. We all have one. And all equally is valid. But yeah, so I would say to the guys in LA, no matter whether you're at the very top and sitting on the scheduled Oscars or at the bottom and haven't even got a job yet, get off your high horse. You're not the only guys. You're not the only people who can do it. And yes, there are guys over there in Mumbai that, funny enough, don't just do robo, they're pretty damn good. That's why it's a real news run setting up. Was it India? Something came out last week. Because it's one way of getting the shit done. They need to get it done fast. If they need to get it done effective to the right quality. I've been saying this for years. It is possible to do fast and the right quality. Now, we shouldn't be worrying about the guys in the middle of the effects industry. We need to be in at the top end, as harsh as it sounds, not the guys at the bottom. If you're at the bottom, you need to work your fucking arse off to get as near the top as you can. It's the only way you're going to have any sort of guarantee. And even then, it's not a walk in the park. So anyway, that is my opening salvo. And this is where I stand. My avatar went green and all that like everybody else. There's been more of that, I've been talking about this for quite a while and I've got my own views on it. And the fact that I brought this up before anybody else, as far as I know, I think it gives me the right to have a different point of view on this. So please realise we need to pull together, not apart. And please don't put somebody who is a puppet of the LAFX studios in charge of this. Because you know what, as soon as they get what they want, we won't see any work anywhere else. They want all the best stuff, we just get the overflow. They usually must think we're fucking idiots, But yeah, or we can all go back to arguing and nothing will get done. The only way anybody wins is compromise. Everybody is going to have to lose out as well as gain. Are you prepared to do that? Are the studios prepared to do that? Are the effects houses prepared to do that? That's what we need to be asking. The only way anything is going to get done here is if we all stop trying to pull this in our own little directions of what we think this fucking means. For any solution to even be remotely fucking possible, and let's be honest, it's only a 1 in a freaking 1,000 chance this is ever going to come off, and achieve anything. We've got to stop arguing. The practical guys, the digital guys, That war has to stop right fucking now and stop behaving like children. Right? 2, we've got to be prepared for the fact that there will be no winners. Nobody will get everything they want. The studios will get some stuff, they'll also lose some stuff. We'll get some stuff, we'll lose stuff. The effects houses, they'll get some stuff, they'll lose stuff. There is no perfect way through this. The chances of completely revolutionising the whole film industry are 0. They're not going to fuck up their accounts and their system that they've had working since the 1920s just because of one new thing. We're not button pressers, we're artists. We're allowed to have an artistic temperament, you know. Now, I would say people need to get off their fucking high horses. I've been talking about this for a long time, and when I was doing my walks back when I was, back home, I was thinking about this rather a lot. Some of them made it on the videos, some of them didn't. It's a very deep subject. There's no perfect answers. The fact that you've got a handful of guys that control the bidding process, and when the assumptions are done, sometimes the director's not even in on it, sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Sometimes there's massive pressure from the studio, from the producer to keep the costs down, and they'll put something down as a simple matte painting shot that they know fine fucking well isn't. It happens all the time. The same as at the end of production, you've got to make compromises sometimes to get the shots out. So in a way, this is like making a film. Nobody's going to win. Hopefully we'll all get something. But what's the problem outcome? As I say, give it a few weeks, it's no longer news. People start getting sick of looking at green, and they want an avatar that stands out again. We've already seen it, where people are not just putting the green square, they're like, okay, I'll wear a green t-shirt on a chroma background. Or I'll put a little bit of green text on top of the green. They're already trying to make it themselves. Why? Because we're fucking artists, right? We don't want to be like bank managers and accountants and just peer at the background. We want to stand out, even on a subconscious level. We want to be artistic. And even that little fucking avatar is a tiny way of being artistic, of showing how artistic you are. To some people. To me, it's just whatever picture I fucking find. But in a way, I think the effects industry could learn a lot from this film. V for Vendetta. There's a lot of subtext in that film that might be useful, I think, people. But the film companies do not want the man on the street to realise the guys like us that do this, either practical or digital, because they start seeing a lot of names being identical. It'd be amazing how many times you'd see John Knoll pop up. Let's face it, right? That guy's in more fucking films than enough. And he would be there on just about every single article about the film. They don't want that. You see, it's bad enough trying to keep control of actors with their star egos than it is having a shitload of guys who press buttons, that's the way they think of it, having egos as well. The way this is the future of effects, I think personally, the only way forward is either very small, very optimised teams of no more than 40 people, that's it, tops, because you can do wonders then, because you have a lot less of bullshit and the whole management structure. Or effects companies are going to start making their own films, filming them, doing all the shoots, doing the strips in-house, doing music in-house, that then they've just got distribution and all that shit to handle right afterwards, but they then know how long it's going to take. And in a way, that could be another way forward. Or we all just stay as we are, and the industry's not going to, it'll never die, but it will slow down a bit. The bottom end will be cut off of it, not the top. The top end will always be there, right? They always need the good shit at the top. It's the mediocre and the crap stuff that will get cut out. Unfortunately, that's a lot of people's livelihoods. But I would say to everybody, up your game, because you're going to fucking need it. And that's me being as honest as I can with everybody. The only way through this is together. If we have Elliot pulling at one side and this VFX soldier who, if you read his bloody blog, it's every now and again be a little tiny line where he comes out with stuff bowling on bloody racism about, how it should all be American all the time. We own it. Yeah, well, We invented the fucking railways in England, you know what I mean? Does that mean you've all got to stop on railways? Don't be fucking stupid. You know, it's very easy to get a nationalistic view at these things, but nationalism never works well in my experience. This is a worldwide profession. It's like a screen scene. It's like the bloody United Nations there. We've got French, Bulgarian, we've had Italian, German, Irish, Spanish, you name it, we've got it, right? We've got guys from Asia and even a Scottish guy. They've got meso. And that's just one place. It's not just about Americans. It's about the whole world. It's one of the few professions where a woman has as much chance of reaching the top as a man does. There's no glass ceiling between men and women. Not many professions can say that. So, the visual effects side has always been pretty accepting of people. You've always taken the oddballs in that nobody else wants. Because usually they're the ones who come up with really fucking cool shit. But it comes at a price. So yeah, the studios need to pull the finger out and realise that if they keep shooting the goose that lays the golden egg, eventually it's going to fucking die. And then you're stuck with the chicken that doesn't lay as big eggs. See, that was an analogy. It's a good one, that. But yeah, so hopefully, at the very least, my hope for this video is it makes people think and talk, because my theory is if people are shouting and screaming at you, it normally means they care enough to debate it. But if anything appears in the comments section, I'm not going to look it down, right? You can see it there, I'm not going to participate. The whole idea is everybody else. I've said for years, I'm not the guy to be in the centre of this, right? But I do, however, think that because I raised this subject fucking 4 years ago, and beyond that, that I do have a right for a voice. Probably more so than a lot of other people. This is not just a newfangled thing with me. You know, I've been watching the subject closely for a long time. So guys like Mike Seymour, you know, has anybody actually asked Mike Seymour for an interview and what does he think about the whole thing? I know they've done some articles on it. A lot of places have, but it would be nice to have balanced views, not just reactionary stuff, right? So, have a think and see what you think. Personally, I think that yeah, this is a worldwide thing. This is about the world, about an industry, not one tiny little fucking section of it. If that's why you're supporting it, you're supporting it for the wrong reasons, in my opinion. But as I say, opinions are like our souls. Everybody's got one. Bye bye.